Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hello Chime In, where we bring real conversations from behind the scenes to the front. Because what happens in private spaces often shapes some of the most important moments of our lives. Today, we're talking about something many people don't fully receive, and that's support. Support in pregnancy, support in labor, in birth, and what it actually feels like to be supported through that experience, but also to be supported in the birth work business. And when I say maternal space, I am talking about those environments where all of this happens. The hospitals, the homes, the birthing centers, and the people that are involved in those spaces, like the doulas and the midwives and the birth workers who support families physically, emotionally, and informationally through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And today we're joined by a husband and wife team who didn't just observe this work, they lived it. They are parents of seven and now they're grandparents. And together they created BirthFlow, a platform designed to bring more calm, clarity, and coordination into how birth professionals manage care. But before we get into what they built, we're going to understand what they experienced. So, Tamara and Jesse, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Okay. So let's take it a little bit back. So thinking back to, I mentioned in the space, you had seven children. So thinking back to your first child, what do you remember about that experience of pregnancy and birth? And what did you understand about the system at that time?
I mean, for me, I was 19 when our first was born. I didn't understand anything about the system. I didn't even know there was a system. You have a baby, you go to the hospital, and you leave. I mean, looking back on it now, I literally knew nothing. I mean, absolutely just nothing.
Yeah. And you just went with whatever you were told to do and you didn't ask questions because why would you ask questions? You just did what your provider told you to do.
Right? They're experts in the space.
Right.
I'm taking your
Yeah,
lead.
exactly.
And I'm amazed that I heard from you first, Jesse, because usually we put the men, the husbands, the fathers to the side, but you're the most powerful advocate in the space because when a woman is going through the birthing period, she's in some kind of delirium, she don't know, and they want to ask us so many questions, right, Sarah? They want to, do you want this?
Yeah,
You can't have this, you can't have that. You're like, I'm thirsty. Here goes some ice chips. I'm hungry. You can't eat anything.
right. Yes, yes.
Were there any moments, like personally or professionally, that felt overwhelming or that made you question how the system was operating? Because you mentioned, you're told what to do. Like I'm waiting for your cue. But was there a moment in there that made you just question how this was operating for yourself and maybe for the support that you had or you didn't have? I don't know if you had a midwife or doula. What was that for you?
hmm I think it was
Yeah,
Skylar, right? I mean,
yeah.
so our daughter Skylar, when she was born, completely healthy child. I mean, came in less than an hour labor from the time her water broke to hospital. I mean, she came, busting out and charged the world. Um, I left the hospital shortly after she was born to go pay the rent because the rent was due. And when I came back, there was doctors in the room and they were telling Tam that they had to take Skylar to Cincinnati Children's Hospital because they were pretty sure that Skylar had Down syndrome. And we couldn't really get an answer, like a solid answer. So what we got was she looks like she has Downs because of where her eyes are positioned. and she has a gap between her toes. So we're going to take this healthy baby and we're going to ship her down to Children's. And Tam said, go, follow her, go. And I went and I left her at the hospital, and I'm in a NICU with all these very premature babies that have every right to be there. And you feel like you're taking a space that you don't deserve because Skylar's 9 pounds, 7 ounces.
Wow.
There's nothing that you can see wrong with her other than a doctor claiming she looks like she has Downs. I think that was the first time I ever questioned, what are we doing here? Why? How does the way someone looks the first hours into their life when everything else is fine deserve all of this? And she was fine. There's no Downs. There was no anything. And then even to get her out, even though she was completely healthy, we had to get her out of the hospital first. And then they made us take all these classes that were required by the state for NICU care.
Yeah.
Just because she had been admitted to the NICU. So we had to spend hours taking classes that she never was supposed to be there anyway, just to get her out.
Yeah.
I am never amazed of all the stories that I hear. Like, I can't believe that. And you, as the father, the husband, the protector, I'm sure that it was elevating your temperature. Like, you're having me do all these unnecessary things, and I just want to bring my kid home. Like, I want to bring my wife and my kid home. And what child number was this? Because this is 7. So what experience was this? The first, the third, the fourth, which pregnancy?
So first for me, second for her. So, I mean, this is my first experience doing any of this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she was literally 5 hours old when they took her.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So
I
they
mean,
didn't give you no time to
we barely,
bond.
yeah, we barely held her. And even when we saw her in the NICU, we didn't even get to hold her.
Not the first day. No.
I mean, I didn't get to hold her until I was done with all the tests.
It's the same thing
No.
that
Well, I mean,
happened with my daughter, and my first grandbaby is was in the NICU. She was 34 weeks, 4 pounds, 12 ounces. And it was as soon as my daughter gave birth, I was present. Thank God I was present. Because I was
Right.
like, you're not giving her the Pitocin, because if not, she would have not been able to follow the ambulance and go with the baby to the NICU because they were going to a whole other facility. It's like, you stay here, trust us, total strangers, take our word. We're taking your most precious gift with us because this is what we feel is the right thing to do. And
Right.
she first of all, they didn't give them and I say them because she was there with her partner, her boyfriend at the time. They didn't give them the golden hour before they cut the cord. It was like, the baby was placed on you real quick, almost like a photo shot. Place the baby on you, take a quick shot, and then here comes everyone else sweeping this child right into NICU. And you're like, I just went through this whole experience where I could have lost my life. Giving birth, we always take a chance. And it's like, you
Right.
didn't even give me any of it, nothing. And like I said, I'm just surprised of all the stories that I hear, especially having you in the space, to have that male perspective, Jesse, I appreciate that. And I'm sure that you were looking around, because once that awareness little bug comes in, like, what else do you question? Like, what else is up in this space, right? What else is up with this place? So I'm going to segue into this question with that. When you said this is the first time I've questioned this, so how do the tools and systems that you noticed being used, like the documentations, you said you were taking classes you didn't need to take, like the documentation, the communication, or the coordination, how did that impact your experience, with you noticing the provider and what was happening with your family?
I don't really know how it impacted me at that point because I think looking back at it, it was a blur, right? At that point, I'm 19. It's my first kid. I'm separated from her and I'm trying to get her out but they won't release her for 24 to 36 hours. So I can't be with her without leaving my daughter. I can't be with my daughter without leaving her. So I'm driving back and forth. I'm spending an hour with her. I'm driving back to my daughter. I'm spending an hour with my daughter. I'm driving back to her. And then wherever I'm not, my mom is. And so, you're questioning things maybe in the back of my head, and I question it more now, but then you're just going with the flow. I mean, this is 2001. The internet isn't really there. Social media is not around. There's nothing to question it. You're believing in the people telling you, no, this is what you do. This is normal. You don't know any different. I mean, I was raised with, you know, you don't talk to strangers, but you trust your doctors, you trust, certain people in your life, and you just do it and you don't ask questions. So I don't think it really impacted the way I looked at things at that point yet.
Okay. So from your background, Jesse, in systems and technology, what stood out to you that didn't align with your birth experience and how it should feel?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
From with your background in systems, and we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the systems, the tools that they use, the technology, because you're saying, they gave me classes I didn't need. Like if we had the information put in there, this is a baby of a normal weight. This is, like real time information. They would have
Right.
known, like, we need to get her out of there. She doesn't belong here. The levels are fine. She's doing well. All of these things. She needs to be with mom. Dad is going back and forth. Just the way that the information was carried back and forth. And you have
Mm-hmm.
a background in systems and technology. So I'm asking what stood out to you that just didn't align with that experience. Like they should have had this information already. They should have, if this person was talking to that person, it wouldn't have taken this long. That piece, that communication with your your techie eye.
So I guess looking back at it now through a tech lens, you need communication back and forth, right? I mean, for where she was a totally different hospital network than where they took our daughter. So
Exactly. So
obviously,
real time
exactly.
information.
And back then, I mean, you still see doctors writing on paper charts, right? I mean, none of that was being communicated. They might have picked up a phone and communicated things that way, but they were doing everything on a doctor's hunch, is what I'm going to call it,
Mhm.
based on how she looked with her eyes. So, yes, I mean, tech is changing everything because real time information flowing, communication systems, regardless of what hospital network you're in, it has to flow. I mean, you have to know what you're dealing with, and you have to have all the history to make educated decisions. That decision should have, or, in today's world, I would hope that decision would have been made differently and Skylar never would have left her arms, and she never would have taken up a space in a NICU.
Got you, got you. So was it that specific moment, or was it another experience where you both realized like something needed to be changed and we need to create this birth flow? Like, tell me that part, where was that birthed, and how, you know?
Well, I mean, you became a doula, what, 2018?
Yeah.
So I've watched her be a doula for almost 10 years. Um, and it's obviously changed the dynamic of our family. I mean, we waited until the kids got older for her to be able to do this. Um, and I've watched her. I mean, she sits there and she texts her clients all the time, or she gets up in the middle of a movie at the theater. She's ditched me in the movie theater, and you watch her communicate 24/7, the exact same messages, the exact same research, the exact same chiropractor's information, and trying to soothe all these clients. And so she's been talking to me for years. This is all her idea. of like, there needs to be a better way. How do I get all this information out? And I've kind of just brushed it off because I couldn't wrap my head around like, how do you do it? And then maybe 6 months ago, we both were just in the same mental place and it clicked of like, no, there's actually a way to do this, but it has to be done differently. We don't want to do what we've seen other companies do, where they focus on the invoicing or the business aspect of a doula's life. How do you make that communication, that doula client connection better? How do you automate the things that can be automated to make the communication more streamlined? And when the doula is at a birth, the doula can be more present with the one she's with.
Yeah, I mean, as a full spectrum birth and death doula, I'm there with you. So Tamara, I want to hear from you since this was your whole idea and you had to put Jesse like in a virtual headlock, so to speak, like, let's do this, honey. Like
Yeah. I mean, I see like he made me a spreadsheet of like my clients and
more
like
paperwork.
paperwork, and trying to, try to make my contracts easier and things like that and sending them links and things like that. But, you know, I was just like this, there has to be something that's a little bit easier than just, like the invoicing, like there's a lot of platforms that have just the invoicing, right? But not the educational part, not the communication part with our clients to make it a little bit easier with them. So that's why I wanted to do this, just to make it easier for everybody, not just for the doulas, but also for the clients stepping into this and be like, oh my gosh, like my doula is amazing because they have this information at their fingertips for me. And they don't feel like they're a bother to us because a lot of them feel that way. I hear it all the time. They don't want to contact you because they feel like they're a burden when they're not. We want to hear from them, but if we can make it simpler for them, want to do that as well.
Absolutely. And I'm there with you. Absolutely. I don't know how many clients you see or saw, but I know for myself, there was a time where I had to be mindful of how many clients I took in because you don't want to burn yourself out, but you want to give this amazing work as being a birth worker, a doula to everyone because we believe that all mothers deserve one. You need that advocate in
Right.
your space, all families, even for the dad too, the number one and best advocate in the space. A doula doesn't replace the dad. A doula doesn't replace the husband, the partner. It's an enhancement and it's a much needed
Right.
tool, just like so many other things. And you're so correct on that. We want the clients to reach out to us. There's information that we have, but if we have to manually do it, like I have to wait until I finish with this client in order to press the manual send to send this email of the very same information that I sent to the client for last week because some of
Right.
the information tends to be the same. All pregnancies are different. All situations are different, but there are some information that we need to share that is the same when we talk about inductions, when we talk about pitocin, when we talk about, the meals that you need, how to do your self-care, just all of
Right.
these things, even though we're non-medical providers, we still need to know some medical things.
Exactly. Yes.
So if
Right.
you're working with a client and she shares her medical history with you, it only makes sense that you would be up on your studies, so to speak, that, this particular client has high blood pressure or this particular client might be susceptible to preeclampsia. Let me send this information over.
Right.
And it is time consuming to do it manual. It took me a while to automate things in the things that I do in business, and I have different moving parts. Because it's, for me, it's not only just being with clients, it's also educating, all the things. I don't want to get into that part, but it does make life a lot easier when you're not
Hmm.
scared of AI and automation, and you use it as a partner, so that way, if this person asked me this particular question and it was the same question that this client asked me, and I'm sure the client of tomorrow will probably ask me that same question, especially if they're a new mom, you know what I mean? A new mom, or there's a distance in between babies, like, oh, it's been 10 years since I had a baby. Like, is it still the same? And it's like, yeah, not much has changed, so when we talk about that, and for someone that's just might be listening in and hearing about what this birth flow might be, because we didn't get into that yet, but what this might be for the first time, like, what is it and who is it designed for exactly?
So starting out, we're designing it for birth doulas. We will expand into other fields later, but we built it as a communication portal for doulas and their clients. Doulas can subscribe and have this as their portal. And then when they use it, their clients get a login, but the client's partner also gets a login. So everyone can be able to talk together. What happens when they're in here is a couple of things. A, doulas can have a content library that they can share with their clients. So maybe they have favorite videos, articles, documents, or PDFs that they've created. They can categorize them and they can put them all in a library. So maybe they have a category called birth positions. Maybe they have one about placenta encapsulation, C-section support, nutrition, and they can put them in these categories so the clients can access them 24/7 on their own time. But if a client can't find it, the doula can also go right in that portal, find that document, hit share, and scroll down to that exact client's name, and it will send just to that client. They can do the same thing with products. They can do the same thing with their local partners, all those chiropractors, the pelvic floor therapists, the birth photographers, the midwives, their favorite pediatricians, whoever they know that they're always referring people to. That's in there. Their client list is obviously in there. Birth planning. Doulas can create their own birth plans, and clients can go in and fill them out. The client can download it. They can change it anytime. And when they do, it just sends a little in-app notification to the doula. Hey, your client updated their birth plan. They can live stream their contractions. So now all your clients are using the same contraction timer. And it'll tell you, is it the client timing the contractions or is the partner in their login timing the contractions? Because they time them differently. And it does all the math for you. So it'll tell you what the average has been over the last hour, frequency, duration, and if they're having one right now. And it'll send you a little in-app notification. My wife's favorite feature is probably the birth log. So when you have a client in labor, it'll pop up like a little chat bubble on your phone, and it does not go away. It's sticky. And when you're in the room with the client, if they're 3 centimeters dilated or whatever it is, there's little boxes and you can just hit it. 3 centimeters, epidural, tub. It timestamps those events for you. And then at the end, you can hit, baby born, 5:16 p.m., whatever the weight is, you can hit publish. It's going to create a PDF version of a birth story that you can now set to the side. It automatically sends it to the client. And if you need it for insurance, you've got it. So those are just, I think, some of the big features that we've built in this first phase to really help doulas. Well, automated messaging, that's the other big one. Doulas, if you have those weekly check-ins that you send to every client, you can now automate those. So you can create templates, and those templates can have attached images, they can have attached links, and it'll automatically go out. And if it's like week 39, but your client delivered at 38 weeks, 5 days, the system will automatically recognize that as long as you put that date of birth in. It'll drop those other pregnancy messages and move them into postpartum for you. You don't have to do that. It's even got hydration alerts. So if you're one of those doulas like my wife is that sends out messages of like, it's really hot today, make sure you're hydrating, it's checking temperatures at clients' houses. And if it hits a certain temperature outside, it'll automatically send a hydration alert. So we've done all of that. And if
I'm
you've got,
sorry. Tara, you really put Jesse to the task. I'm sorry.
I did.
My doula heart is like glowing with happiness right now because I'm like, check, check. Because my next question was, how is BirthFlow different from all the other tools currently being used in the space or not being used in the space? And it's like, and we did this, and we created this, and we added this. It's like he really was paying attention. It was like I waited this long to get it done, but when you clicked, you really clicked.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it will also have like, you know how like you want to go to a client's home and you can't remember where all your clients live, it will have an icon of their home right next to their name, and all you have to click on that icon and it takes you straight to their home. Same thing if they're birthing at a hospital, it will already you click that hospital icon, it'll take you right to their hospital. So that's very helpful, especially, when your client says they're 7, 8 centimeters and you got to rush out the door. Like, it just makes it so much easier instead of rummaging back through all the messages to figure out what their address is. So,
Wow, wow. So I heard in the conversation earlier that, it's like 6 months in. So where are you, with this app, and where have you put it out there outside of this space, because this is going into our birth worker global community space, and we have
mhm.
about 18,000 members. I have another 632 waiting to come in, because I make sure that I vet them. They have to have an email, as you noticed coming into my space. You have to have an email coming into the space. I need to make sure that you're not a bot, that you're a person. I need to also be able to find you on social media, so I know that that you are some way somehow related into the birth work world, and you're not just some troll or some hacker trying to get into the space. So we really take care. It's a
Right.
sacred space for me.
for
You
sure.
know, before the pandemic, um, in 2019, we had under 2,000 members. I have people in LinkedIn looking out for me like, do you want to sell your group? Absolutely not. It's my baby. It took me a long time to birth it and to grow it. Like, it's not even a teenager yet. And so many people are saying you have the marketer's dream. Instead of you going out to people, people are coming to you. So now that you have this app, where are you in this space? What is the dream of this baby? Like right now, you're putting it in this space, but where else is it available? Where do you plan on bringing it? Like, what is that part of this? I know that you're speaking to birth workers now, but what is the like the full vision of this particular app?
So the full vision is this is just phase one for doulas. We're going to be working on phase two over the summer, which will help doulas get reviews from their clients, help them manage client photos. We're going to launch a placenta encapsulation tool. Um, we're working on kind of like a birth photography tool. We're adding tools based on some conversations we've already had with doulas that are in larger cities to make sure that there's spaces for acknowledging, clients that might live in walk-ups or need paid parking. So we're already kind of taking feedback from other doulas. But what I want this to be is almost like a collaborative care model where
Okay.
doulas, placenta encapsulators, lactation consultants, birth photographers, home birth midwives, pelvic floor therapists, chiropractors, they can do this together. They can share. We talked about it earlier, communication and the breakdown between systems. If at
Mhm.
some point this could work between all of them and a client could have their entire birth team right there, what a dream that would be.
What a powerful connection. I mean, Tamara, I'm sure that you've had this conversation with other birth workers. We're just meeting here, but we would have this conversation too. What it would be to not only have the communication, not the competition, but the
Right,
communication so that way we can build a connection.
right.
That's the most important thing. We're disconnected. All these professionals are disconnected. We're not on the same page. And like you mentioned earlier, Jesse, with the writing it on the board, I still think some people still write it on the pad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that some people are just getting on board when we're talking about, and I'm going to bring it into space, the automation, the AI, the tech part of it, because that's something that people are afraid of, and also the privacy part. If I utilize this tool, is my information private, or is it somewhere out here in cyberspace, for the whole world to see whether I want them to or not? It's just having a little bit of trust that as a doula, that is an up-to-date doula, up to date on my tech, the same way that you're trusting me with your family, you know, trust me with this, with the information that just as well I'm going to protect you, I'm going to protect this too. But I'm putting all this information in a nice little box because most of the time we can't even remember our birth. We can't even
yeah.
remember all the
Yep.
little details. Like, was it 5:55 or was it 5:56? I don't know. Like, when did you actually see her or him or them crowning? Like, did I actually drink? How much water did I drink? What did I do? These things you try to piece together after the fact, hopefully, if you could.
Right.
Right? So, if birth professionals had better support and tools, what kind of a long-term impact do you think that this could have on families and communities?
I mean, I think for birth workers, families, it helps a lot. But I mean, I think for families, it helps. What I'm hoping actually comes out of this from the male perspective is I hope partners can be more involved because they'll have a login, right? Like I know in talking to Tam with some of the families that she supported, she's had some incredible dads who were like some of the most amazing and supportive men. And they ask questions in her group chats. But I know sometimes as a dad, you kind of feel silent. I mean, I've been in the birth room for my kids, and sometimes you even kind of feel pushed out of the way, right? The nurse will kind of like move you without really talking to you, not trying to be rude, but there's a lot going on and the space is small and you get pushed to the side. And I think for some dads, that probably is how it feels even the 9 months prior. By giving them this chance to have their own login, they can even go and just privately research some of these questions. And I'm hoping that that gives them their own little space of this world.
That's very well said. Very well said. You just brought me back to home birth that I was in, and I had spoken to this family before, and her husband was really, really tall. I'm only 5'4", but he's really, really tall, really, really built. And I said, first we thought it was a midwife and her assistant. Three midwives ended up showing up, which I was like, you didn't even ask permission for the third one to be there. But thank goodness that, the doula's here, right? The scribe to take the notes. And I had specifically told the dad, I specifically told her husband, when the midwives come and they come to check your wife or whatever they're doing to her or for her, don't leave her side. Because they can do it so subtly, don't leave her side. And mind you, I sat in the corner the whole time. So their bed was like right here, and I sat in the corner, like right there. And when one of the midwives came to do the checks, you know how they do the checks, Tara, they do the checks, and he was moving out the way. And because I was in the corner, I put my elbow up because what I wanted to do was like nudge him. I mean, I nudged him in his butt, which made him go, wee! And then he went closer to her. But I was just like, don't you get away from her, like stay there, because it happens so often. Like you said, just it happens. And
Yeah.
whether they do it on purpose or not, because some of it is intentional, like, excuse me, you move out the way, let me do what I got to do on the professional space. Some of it is not, because it's like monotonous. It's the same things because they're so used to seeing it's like a number, one client after the other. But to have them included in this space with what you have created is amazing. And another thing that brought to mind, I'm in a happy marriage. I'm happy. I'm not leaving my husband, but the child that we have is his first and my fourth. So I struck out two times before. And when I think about having those types, and I say those types meaning not wedded to them, but they're still the father of my other children, to have had them involved without being involved with him. Like here, you can have access, as much access as I would like to give you, so you could still be involved in that co-parenting situation that so many people are in, because in those types of situations, it's only the mom that has the information, and dad is truly left out. And he could be the most loving person in the world and the best supportive dad, but he's just not included in that part. It's like woman stuff.
Right.
So I'm glad that you put that into the space. So um, just to wrap it up a little bit, where can people learn more about BirthFlow and connect with you both?
So we have a website, www.getbirthflow.com. We'll be launching a more full website over the next couple of weeks, but it's up there. You can get some information about it. We post regularly on Facebook and Instagram. Um, and right now, if you go to the website, if you want to join our wait list, you can go there. We're collecting emails. We send out emails once a week, letting people know in detail more of the features that are coming. And the app will be available for birth workers June 1st.
Oh, nice. That's coming up pretty soon. So
It is
thank you.
coming up.
Thank you
Yeah,
both
her
for
clients
being
are
here.
trialing you next week.
Yeah, listen, that is, I mean, this is perfect timing. So I appreciate you both being in this space and bringing your story, your experience, and your perspective into the space. What I hope people take from this is that birth is not something that happens in isolation. It's supported, it's
Yeah.
shaped, and it's deeply influenced by the people and the systems involved. And when those systems begin to align with the care being provided, everything shifts. So, for those
Mhm.
of you listening, whether you're in this work or simply connected to someone who is, stay curious, stay informed, and stay connected to conversations like this. And if you like to learn more about BirthFlow or connect with Tamara and Jesse, we'll make sure that to have the information in the show notes. And thank you all for being here with us. And we'll see you on the next conversation.
Thank you for having us.